Yo, what is up, guys? What is up, dude? So it's 2 days after Christmas. We're recording this. It's December 27th. It's Friday. I have a good episode planned for you guys today. We've talked a little bit about really cool projects in the Bitcoin space. We've talked about Heatbit. We've talked about Cade Peterson and his immersion technology. We've talked about the Loki rigs. But we've had Scott on to talk about the Bitaxe, the project that they've got going on. But we haven't had someone come in who's building Bitaxes. So today, I have a fun podcast for you, one that I'm really looking forward to. We have the Solo Satoshi boys. We have Matt and Hunter, who created this company from absolutely nothing. They took an idea, they took an idea and a dream, and they turned it into reality. And here they are today, 7 months into this project, and they've got Bitaxes flying off the shelf. I mean, literally, they did a promo on Twitter the other day. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. They're like cheapest Bitaxes ever, get them for $100 or whatever it was. I can't remember the price. And I was like, I got to get one. So I immediately went to their website. Guess what? They were sold out. They were completely sold out. And so more of the story is that these Bitaxes and what Solo Satoshi are doing, they're just flying off the shelves because obviously, somebody found a block before the national conference, and now everybody wants a Bitaxe. But what's happening in the Bitaxe space, in the Bitaxe community, is amazing. I mean, if you go hashtag Bitaxe, I know that we're not supposed to be following hashtags anymore, but if you go hashtag Bitaxe and you start looking at some of the stuff that is being built with these Bitaxes, it's insane. I mean, you've got people taking and hydro cooling these. You've got people dunking them in immersion fluid and pulling like 3 terahash out of one Bitaxe gamma. That's probably not correct, but it feels like that. I saw on Twitter the other day, somebody took, I think they're calling it the Zeta 13 or something like that. It's getting 13 terahash. I think it's got 8 chips on it. It's insane what people are doing in the Bitaxe space. It's open source. It's completely DIY and just tinkerer friendly when it comes to these things. I wish I had mine in here to show you, but we're going to show you some of the things that Hunter and Matt have going on in their space. We're going to talk with them. I'm really excited about it. Before we do, I have a couple things to show you.
Join the Mastermind Club, a weekly gathering of Bitcoin miners sharing insights to help you optimize or build your mining business. Our community fosters open discussion and collaboration, connecting you with experts who can help you overcome challenges and find solutions faster. Every other week, we host the Mastermind Deep Dive, where industry leaders delve into the financial, operational, and optimization hurdles faced by miners like you. Brought to you by Bitcoin Mining World.
All right, so that's our Mastermind Club. The link at the bottom of your screen right now, you can click that or just go to the show notes. Weekly sessions, amazing group of Bitcoiners trying to learn how to build and optimize their Bitcoin mining operations. It's a really fun group. I really enjoy doing that every single week. The other thing I want to tell you guys about is this, and I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see here, share screen. Okay, so what you guys are seeing right now, I'm not sharing it yet. There we go. What you guys are seeing right now, this is the Undermine Heat Punk Summit coming up in February, I believe it's February 19th through the 21st. Friday, February 21st to Saturday, February 22nd. So you guys know I am a heat punk. I believe that Bitcoin mining, the future of Bitcoin mining is all about the heat punks and what is happening in the heat reuse space. And what they're putting on over at the space in Denver is incredible. So if you guys want to learn about Bitcoin mining and how heat is a product and not a problem, go to this Heat Punk Summit. this is going to be a great opportunity to meet with like-minded individuals, people who are learning and discovering how heat can be utilized for many different things. I mean, we're talking building businesses. We're talking about generating more revenue than you could have ever imagined just on a standard business. Things like Cade Peterson, what he's doing with his business, Softworm LLC. We're going to be talking with HVAC technicians. They've got a really good lineup going. So we'll kind of be talking about this more and more throughout the next month. This is happening in February. I think when this podcast comes out, it will be January something. It's going to be the first week of January. So yeah, definitely go to the link. I'm going to share that real quick too. So the link at the bottom of your screen, go to that link. It'll be in the show notes as well. Sign up for that event. Go out to Denver. I'll be there. A lot of the other Heat Punks will be there. Some people that we've had on this podcast before, they'll all be there. It'll be a fun time. But enough shilling. Let's get into the episode. I'm going to bring up Hunter and I'm going to bring up Matt. Hunter, Matt, how are you guys doing today?
Can't complain. It's a great day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. We're recovering from last night. We was up till 2 a.m. A lot of shenanigans going on. Someone DDoS attacked the website, so we had a big launch. Yeah, we had a big launch last night, and well, not a big launch. We launched a limited amount of devices of a particular device, and it just went absolutely crazy. So, fixing the website, fixing everything. Everything broke, but it's all running smooth now.
Yeah. This happens, man. You're a startup, you're a relatively new company. It takes time to work these kinks out, and then obviously there's always going to be people who are, trying to take advantage of certain underpinnings in the system. And so, I hate to see it, but at the end of the day, it's a learning experience. I hope nobody lost anything, and everything's back up and running smoothly.
Oh yeah, we're doing good, man. Haters gonna hate, man. So
sure,
we're making our way through the water. We're doing fine.
What's that phrase? If everybody likes you, you're doing something wrong. Is that how it goes? You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's
well,
for sure.
Hey, so I think the way that I want to start this off is, obviously we always dive into some origin stories, and you guys have a very interesting origin story. Obviously, I alluded to it at the beginning. Solo Satoshi is 7 months old, man. You guys are an infant when it comes to building companies and venturing out on your own, doing your own thing. But let's take it back to the very beginning. Hunter, Matt, how did you guys come to Bitcoin? And you guys either one of you can start, whoever wants to take it. How did you guys come to Bitcoin? And when did you decide that building a small company like Solo Satoshi and selling these Bitaxes was what you guys wanted to do? And sorry for the multiple questions here, but preface this by, what do you guys do on a daily basis?
So I'm a high voltage technician by trade. So we work very strenuous hours, anywhere from, could be 12 to, I've worked a 32-hour day one time. So high voltage technician by trade, travel all around the United States and just do high voltage stuff, build substations from the ground up, make sure they're functioning for the customer. So electricity is just kind of our jam.
Yeah, pretty much. We both started in the same field and actually co-workers. And I recently went into management so I could be home every day for the business. So it's been fun, but the hours, yeah, you get a phone call 2 a.m, you better answer it.
Right.
Yep.
I'm reminded of a story of, a couple of Thanksgivings ago. We were all cooking around. We're in the house. We're cooking. It was a terrible storm, and all of a sudden, all the power went out. And if it weren't for people like yourself, high voltage technicians, going out and repairing those lines and repairing the electricity that comes to our homes, like, we wouldn't have been able to. Like, they got that shit up and running in like an hour, dude. Like, the power was out for an hour. We were back up and running, and everybody was able to finish their Thanksgiving meals. And it was because of people like yourself going out and working those long hours, building these lines for us, the transmission lines that we need in order for our lives to to happen. I mean, people don't think about it, but like the electricity doesn't just magically come out of nowhere when you flip a switch. You know, it takes a lot of infrastructure to make that happen. So, you know, I just want to say, like, super grateful for what you guys do. Appreciate that you were willing to take that time and learn this valuable skill in this trade. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Bitaxe. You know, how did you guys come to Bitcoin, and how did that lead you to Bitaxe?
So I got into Bitcoin. I'm like class of 2019, 2020, still fairly, I would say, new to the space. You know, there's a lot of OGs out there, respect to them. But a lot of things about the existing financial system just didn't make sense to me. And I think if you're a free thinker, you kind of ask a lot of questions, you know, and one book just kind of led to another, you know, started with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, learning what assets and liabilities are, and then picked up The Creature from Jekyll Island, started learning about the Federal Reserve and how they manipulate interest rates and basically how money comes into creation through the manipulation of interest rates and whatnot, how the government prints money, and tried to do some stock trading, got burned multiple times, you know, just could never figure it out. And then just really picked up some of Ray Dalio's literature and kind of seen how the economic machine worked. You know, that's one of my favorite videos by him. So everything, all roads kind of lead to Bitcoin when you're learning about the financial system and how things generally work. And picked up the Bitcoin Standard, picked up The Seventh Property by Eric Yates, picked up a bunch of different books, and just started reading through them, you know, day by day, night by night, and I was all in. So I decided to go all in around 2020, and it's a rabbit hole you just can't climb out of once you fall into it, you know.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Hunter?
Yeah. Mine was a little different, man. I started trading Bitcoin just for like financial gain at the beginning, and that was probably 6.5 years ago. But then I was taking classes, like taking finance and actually learning the entire financial system, and just saw how flawed it was. And then eventually, one of my buddies was like, "You need to read the white papers. Is where to start." So I read the entire thing, and I was just like, "Holy crap! This makes so much sense." And it just put one and one together makes two, right? So it just took off from there. Um, I fell out of it for a while just because of financial struggles, but just as I've grown up and adulted, whoever thought that was a good idea, you just learn of all these flaws in the system, and there's just this solution that so many people are not even aware of, which eventually led us to Bitaxe to spread that adoption, and it's been pretty awesome.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, you guys' stories, how you guys get into Bitcoin, they're different, but they're also the same. Because, you know, something that you mentioned, Matt, is being a free thinker. And if you're kind of thinking about like how money works, you're asking these questions, it inevitably leads you down this path of like, well, what is Bitcoin? Well, you know, why is Bitcoin useful? And Hunter, no shame in trading. You know,
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
everybody's been there, man. Like I've tried to trade. I've gotten completely washed out on a lot of things before, and
Wrecked.
I
Oh,
got
yeah.
wrecked, bro. Completely
Wrecked.
screwed out of like I want to say like a couple $100 of Bitcoin, and this was back when I like only had a couple $100. I mean, what am I saying? I don't have any Bitcoin. I lost all my Bitcoin, but
Yeah.
like when I did have Bitcoin, I lost it all. And you know, you learn a lot of valuable lessons through that. Something that, you know, Hunter, you were talking about these books that you read. So I've read the same books. You know, Rich Dad Poor Dad was one of the first books that got me to think about these questions. And like the Warren Buffett way was another one. You know, just asking these questions of how the system works, and then really getting completely screwed on the stock trading end of it and going, well, like, why does this work for some people and why does it not work for other people? And then when you start thinking about Bitcoin and why it's important and how it works, it's like, well, this makes so much more sense. Like it's stupid not to. It's like how Finney said, you might as well get some if this thing takes off, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. The financial system doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I think if you're just complacent, you're like the frog in boiling water. Inflation eventually gets you, and then sometimes by then it's too late. It's really good to ask the question. What can I do to preserve my money? And I was telling Hunter before we came on, I was like, anything physical can be taken from you, but I feel like Bitcoin can never be taken from you. Obviously, there's some responsibility that goes into that. If you're holding your own keys and routing your own transactions and like doing all these different things, it requires some education, but it requires a lot of responsibility. But Bitcoin is one of those things that no one can ever take from you. I mean, it's something that you can literally take to your grave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love Bitcoin. But hey, we're not here to talk about Bitcoin. I mean, we are. In a roundabout way we are. But like
Yeah.
really,
All roads lead to Bitcoin.
exactly. They really do. I mean, you could talk about philosophy, you could talk about religion, and it's going to lead you to Bitcoin if you
Yeah.
talk with the right person. But I want to talk about Bitaxe. Okay. And Bitaxe is this open source project. It's a Bitcoin mining project. I mean, it's a Bitcoin miner. Obviously, it's not a Bitcoin miner like the high voltage, large scale industrial mining facilities that we hear about. It's not Marathon. It's not Bitmain. And it's not What's Miner. It's Bitaxe. What like first off, what makes Bitaxe so special?
I think what makes Bitaxe so special is just the fact that it's open source. You know, a lot of the technologies that we see today are closed source software, proprietary software. Everything's proprietary. It doesn't allow for it to grow. It allows for it to be captured, it allows for it to be manipulated, and it just kind of sometimes it goes stagnant, man. I mean, look at Apple. They've released the same iPhone 40 times. I mean, there's really no innovation when a small cabal of people like control an idea or control a technology. I think what makes Bitax special is the fact that it's open source and everyone in the community has a hand in it. I mean, what you're looking at here is not gonna this is not gonna look the same in another 3 months from now. There's always going to be somebody around the world when you're sleeping working on a new idea. This is a 24/7 365 project that anyone can change, anyone can implement new rules, and as long as it complies with the license and stays open source, then the sky is the limit when it comes to innovation. And I think the cheap price point makes it relative in the market. The large miners have, or the large Bitcoin mining manufacturers have priced everyone out. I mean, I don't know anyone in my family who can just blow 5 grand on a miner, and I don't know anyone that could pay upwards of an extra $100 on their utility bill to run one. And that's sort of what got me into Bitaxe, because I wanted to set up a mining farm in my backyard, so to say, right? I wanted to run 6 to 8 S19s, but once I seen the cost, the barrier to entry was so high. I would have had to have upgraded my whole electrical infrastructure on my home. And I mean, I'm probably looking at 5 to 8 grand in upgrades, taking an outage from the utility company before I even purchase the miners. And if you purchase miners at the top of a bull market, you're throwing your money into the furnace, because you're never going to get your value back from them unless you preserve it and maybe sell it in another bull market or something. But it's just too expensive, and Bitax really lowers the barrier to entry for anyone around the entire globe to run one. And it doesn't consume much electricity. It only consumes, you may add an extra $3.50 to $4 to your electricity bill a month, and that may be too much. You might be looking at only $2.80 a month. It might be the equivalent of leaving a closet light on or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not an extravagant, increase of utility costs at all.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, go ahead, Matt or Hunter.
that's
Go ahead.
exactly what I was going to get into. Is the barrier to entry was so high because we both bought S19s and started playing around with them, but that's no way to spread adoption, and we had to find a way to spread that. And recently we have seen that. I mean, we've been on the phone with 78-year-old people trying to figure out what is a Bitaxe and what's Bitcoin and how's all this work. And we're like, all right, we're not emailing all this, just call me and talk through it. So that's to me has been the most important and awesome just to see.
Well, what you touched on there, I'd like you guys to describe, because I know what a Bitaxe is. Some of the audience knows what it is. It's pretty cool device. I'm gonna let you guys explain to me and to the audience what is a Bitaxe.
A Bitaxe, and we've explained this 1,000 times, so it's like clockwork. But a Bitaxe is right now it's just a single chip Bitcoin miner. It's fully open source. All the files are online. If you want to build your own, there's a GitHub repository from Scott. Scott's the goat. It's a fully open source project, and we do offer the convenience of buying one already assembled. But if you wish to make your own, everything's already there. And I think the fact that someone built a device so small but with such significance holds a great value in the entire space. And honestly, to sum it up, Bitaxe is just a revolution in Bitcoin mining, is what it really is at the core.
The idea that has started this to decentralize the network and basically fighting these corporate entities, and has grown into all these other devices, the Nerd QX and just everything that's gone off as single chip, multi-chip that doesn't cost you $5,000-$6,000 to buy. And Scott, that is definitely Scott deserves all the praise for that.
Yeah. So for those of you who are new, Scott is the developer of the code, the Bitaxe code. He's the one that open sourced the code and basically made it to where, like, if you were going to build a Bitaxe, you had to open source your technology, correct?
Yeah, he's the instigator of Bitaxe. This entire design, from the code to the hardware, all goes to him. So Scott's the goat, man. I mean, he's opened up. He's opened up. Go ahead.
And the great team that they've all formed.
Yeah, he's opened up a can of worms that really just can't be put back in. The technology is open source now, so like the cat's out of the bag, and the race is on to see who can develop the most powerful and efficient devices for the cheapest cost. To further lower the barrier of entry.
Yeah, and so what I personally love about this Bitaxe project is it's the perfect entry point for anyone who wants to understand how Bitcoin mining works. Like you said, it's a Bitcoin miner. Bitcoin miners, no matter how big, no matter how small, they all function the exact same way. They have a power source, they have a connection to the internet, and they have, like, whatever's mining the actual Bitcoin. And it's also got a cooling unit, some sort of cooling technology. But what's so amazing, because it is open source, because you can, tinker with the code, because you can play around with the different units, the different components on the Bitaxe itself, you've got people who buy it, set it on their desk, never touched again. They learn about Bitcoin mining, they just think it's cool, they kind of dive into that world. And then you have people on the complete opposite side of the spectrum who are running like 50 of these motherfucker things. They've got 50 of them in a room. Yeah. They got a tower. You see the pictures of the Bitaxe tower with like 15 different Bitaxes, all in different configurations, with a camera that goes around and looks at all of them. One's immersion hydro. One's, got this beefy fan on it. There's so much that you can do with it. Like you said, the cat's out of the bag. The race is on, and people are just iterating and playing around and doing cool stuff. I'm not a software developer. I'm not a coder. I'm not a computer technologist. I'm not a ASIC repair technician. So I can't do a lot of the things that some of these people are doing in the space. So I watch from afar with amazement, going, that's fucking cool. So some of the things that are happening is just amazing.
Well, that's so cool. That's what's so cool about the project is that you don't have to be some sort of you know, super secret coder to run one of these things, right? There's about 3 or 4 step process to get it online, and then like you said, you can set it and forget it and never look at it again, check on it every once in a while, and it just sits there and it runs away.
Mm-hmm. And what's really nice about it is, I kind of said it earlier. I gave my Bitaxe to my father-in-law for Christmas. He's kind of running his own S19. He's getting into the mining space. I was like, what better Christmas gift to get this guy than a Bitaxe? So I gave him my Bitaxe, and he was pretty excited about it. He's like, so what? This thing just mines? Like, what pool do I mine to? I'm like, you just mine to this pool, like publicpool.io. Just go there and mine. He's like, well, will I see a reward? I'm like, no. That's the glorious thing, is that, like, if you do see a reward, you're getting the whole damn block. You're not getting like a little bit of it. So the likelihood that you do get this thing is very small. I mean, like, infinitesimally small, but there's a chance. And the use case has been proven. I mean, someone did find a block right before the Nashville conference. Someone found a block, and the race was on at that point. I really, and I'd like to hear from your guys' perspective, as you're a distributor of Bitaxe. How has business been like for you since that guy found the block? You're laughing, Hunter.
Business has been absolutely stellar. To summarize it in short, we can't complain. To make it a long story, we can't get enough devices fast enough to sell to everyone. We're constantly out of stock. Our website's constantly going down. Like, it's it's been crazy, man. It's been the craziest ride I've ever experienced. We don't sleep. We barely eat. We're just in this to decentralize Bitcoin mining, and I think that the market is speaking very clearly that they want more access to Bitaxe, more access to small Bitcoin home miners, and they want them to be more affordable, and that's things that we're actively working on. Business has been absolutely booming. I mean, in the 7 months that we've been active and doing this, I mean, we've seen absolutely amazing results.
Mm-hmm. So, Solo Satoshi is not the only distributor of Bitaxe. Because the nature of an open source project, anybody can go out and build a business around distributing these mining rigs. I mean, that's really what it is. But there are a couple things about Solo Satoshi that set you apart from your competition. And, yes, they're competition, but they're also your friends, because we're all doing this together. But
Right.
Yes.
what sets Solo Satoshi apart from the other people in the space doing the same thing?
I'll tell you from my perspective is how dedicated we are to ensure that low price point. And I know people might still think it's high. When we first bought our very first bit axes was over $300 for a 401 Supra. And Matt was like, "Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start selling them." And, we saw how much money people were making. We're like, this isn't going to spread adoption. And so we started buying them in bulk and just going as low as we could, just to barely, make buy so that we could keep the ball rolling. And that's what we started for. And what I think is really going to drive us for the future is just to make sure to keep spreading adoption.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, go ahead. Sorry, Matt.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say, in something else that really sets us apart is just how much we value customer service and technical assistance. I think that if you're selling devices and you're leaving people in the dark when they can't get their device on, I don't think that they're ever going to return back. I don't think that if you're not offering customers a pleasant experience when they shop with you, that they're ever going to come back either. And I think what we sell more than just Bitaxes is we sell customer service. And I mean, that's what keeps people coming back time after time again. Everyone as a final end user or a customer, they want to feel important. And I think we get back to people in a very, very timely manner. And I think we hit all the nails on the head on getting people online. And if something's wrong with their device, then we replace it, no questions asked, you know. And I don't know that there's a whole lot of people out there doing that. That's something that we really pride ourselves on, is customer service, technical assistance, trying to be one of the most affordable. If you're running a business, you know, you have extra costs as well, just to keep the ball rolling and trying to grow and get into other things. uh, because we also try to help manufacturing scale as well, and it's expensive in the early stages, right? We're not getting things mass produced in China. We're not getting these things made in China. They're assembled in the USA. And you know, we're creating American jobs. We're helping manufacturers scale. We're helping people get online in a timely manner. And if we don't, we replace their device. And I think that's the ultimate customer experience right there. I think that's what people want to see when they buy a product.
100%. I mean, look, not everybody is just like completely understanding of how Bitcoin works, how mining works. And look, when I first got my Bitcoin miner, my first one, it was an S9. I had to learn how to connect it to a network. I had to learn how to find an IP address. I had to learn how to enter in your pool configuration information. I had to learn all these things. It wasn't like, oh, plug it into the, you buy a MacBook, for instance. You buy a MacBook, you pull it out of the box, you plug it into the wall, you sign in, and you're up and running in 30 seconds. Whereas with these Bitcoin miners, it's not that easy. I mean, any person who's willing to take the time and read a manual and kind of fiddle with it for a while, they can figure it out. But these aren't the types of people that we're dealing with. You know, we're, like we alluded to at the beginning, is like we're trying to decentralize this stuff. We're trying to spread adoption globally, which means that anybody who is interested or curious or, you know, semi interested, I guess, yeah, sorry, interested in this device can just plug one in and start running it. But that doesn't mean that they're going to just know exactly how to do it straight out the gate. And so what you're doing is you're providing customer service, helping walk people through this process that can be a little daunting at times. You know, I'm not going to lie, like it's kind of scary plugging this thing, like whether it's a small Bitaxe or something else. You're like, am I going to break this? Like, am I doing this right? Like, what did I do? Why is it not working? I spent $150 on this thing and it's not doing anything. What did I do wrong? So, you know, what you're touching on there is it's very important. Um, I think it's something that a lot of people, you know, you go on Twitter, you read some of these things that people are saying about you is like, oh, the prices are too high. Oh, you know, yada, yada, yada. Enter whatever complaint you have here. If anybody wants to go out and build one of these things, like you said, go out and build it. You know, that all the more power to you. But what you guys are doing specifically is taking all of the heavy lifting, the legwork out of the problem. And you're taking that burden on. And obviously, you know, that comes with its own set of challenges. You know, like you said, you ran a special the other day, your website goes down, you got DDoSed. It's not easy being the first men to something like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a challenge. Every side to making this project come together has its own set of challenges. Being a distributor isn't easy by any means. We take great pride and support, like I've already said, but we take all the burden off the people who create the project too. We deal with the main the main kickbacks, all the complaints, all the angry customers, you know, the people who like what's going on, don't like what's going on. We take all of that and then we wrap it up in a present and present it to the developers very nicely and hope they change things. So I think us being a distributor holds a great value to project developers and manufacturers because we have one of the most valuable things, and it's customer feedback. We can weed through the people who just don't know what an IP address is or don't know their Wi-Fi password, and we could take away the real issues that are going on and help manufacturing or help developers develop something better to further push mass adoption, right? To further
Mhm.
get this concept adopted.
Yeah, definitely. Well, check. So, what are some of these? What are some of the new things coming out? You know, everybody, well, not everybody. I shouldn't say everybody. People know about the Bitaxe. People know about these single chip Bitaxe configurations. But you mentioned it earlier, the NerdX Q. What is that?
So Hunter's got one back there. If you just want to kind of unplug it and show everyone, the Nerd QX is basically a Supra times four. So what you're going to start experiencing in the near future is that open source miners are going to get a lot bigger. They're going to get more powerful. They're going to become more efficient as well as people start to implement some of the newer ASIC chip technology. And what you get with that in return is that ratio of dollar per terahash starts coming down. And then people will start weighing their options. They'll look at the single chips and go, well, hell, I can buy one Supra for, 130, 150 bucks, or I can buy this Nerd QX that has essentially four Supra chips on it for 375. It just makes more sense to spend a little bit more money and get that dollar per terahash ratio down. And I think really looking forward, I think that's the future of this market. It's going to be bigger devices, still trying to target like that less than 200 watts. You're going to have some people who want high powered machines. You're going to want some people who have who want 1,000 watt machines, but not everyone can afford that final utility cost. So I think mass adoption lies around something with 4 to 8 chips. That's very easy to use. That's very simple to connect. That takes a lot of the headaches that we're currently experiencing out of it. A lot of the electronics in your home, your smart TV, your alarm system, your Ring doorbell, if you have that, you don't know the IP address of those things. So what we've done is we're starting to, we can't say too much, but we're implementing some things that are going to be making a BitX literally easy to set up as 1, 2, 3. There's going to be 3 steps. It's going to take you 2 minutes. You're going to hit save, and your device is going to be online. And we are going to make it look like a final product. It's another thing with all your electronics is you don't see the PCB, or you don't see the circuit board, in the inner workings of it. We want to aim for something that can sit on a desktop, sit on a bookshelf, and look like a final product in the long run. I think right now BitX is really interesting. I think seeing all the components kind of make people ask, like, what the hell is that? I think it's an awesome conversation starter, but I think the future lies in something that has more of a final product look and is really easy to set up, that doesn't require a whole lot of technical assistance, something that's maybe as easy to set up as an iPhone. And I think in 2025, you guys are going to see some things that are going to blow your mind. We're working on a lot, man. We don't stop. I mean, we distribute, we do customer service, emails. We're also trying to help people innovate. We try to help platform open source developers. you know, One day in this world is like 6 years. I always like to say, you miss one day, you miss 6 years, and there's something always happening in this space. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's definitely something always happening in the space. I Oh man, like one thing that you kind of touched on is this idea, this form finished, beautiful looking product. I'm reminded again of an Apple device. And you talked a little bit about how Apple devices, they're selling the same phone for 20 years. It's been the same design, whatever. But a lot of the normies, like they buy the Apple phone because it looks really good. It's a nice finished design. It's whatever they do to make that thing look so beautiful, but it's a beautiful device. But not everybody is going to be like me and go, man, I like the Bitaxe the way that it looks. I think the fact that you can see the PCB board on it, you can see the fan and the circuitry on it, I think that looks freaking cool. Like I kind of like that. But not everybody's going to be like that. So you've really got to dive into these different markets and really show this beautiful form finished device that people are going to go, that's really cool. I would like to have one of those just sitting on my desk, unobtrusively out of the way, not making any noise, and possibly giving me the opportunity to win, a block for once.
Yeah, we want something, that people can take to work and run off their work's electricity, and they can have a lottery ticket going, on their work's utility bill, and it'll still be a fraction of, of anything on the market in regard to like raising any utility costs or anything like that. But we want something that no one really asks any questions about. And I think, privacy is like a big thing in Bitcoin, right? And if it's undetectable, stealth looking, maybe looks like a clock or something like that, I think no one really asks any questions, and you could just leave it running 24/7 and you don't really have to worry about it.
Absolutely. So you've got a couple things on your desk there, Matt. What's that
Yeah.
one in the middle there? You want to show us that?
So this is a project that a guy named Neil has been working on inside the space, and it's actually a hydro cooled kind of outfit for a Bitaxe. So it's got a water reservoir here, it's got a little fan, it's got a pump and a radiator on the back. And what it does is it provides extra cooling, so you can get a little bit more terahash out of your rig. Really, really cool design. Just kind of further iterates on, what kind of opportunities Bitaxe presents people. They love to innovate on it, and there's going to be so much cooler stuff. Hunter has a couple things back there too. The Emerge Axe, if you want to show them that, it's basically a oil immersion Bitaxe, and you fill that chamber up with oil and get that going, and it allows for more, more hash power too. And just like really some of like the coolest things that are coming out. And we have what I would say we're very fortunate to like get our hands on some of these things, and be directly in the market where everyone is just innovating, and they're like, here, take this, show it off. We absolutely love platforming people, and we love to show off their ideas because we're just excited about it as they are.
Yeah. And that's the coolest thing is it feels like every Bitcoiner, not every Bitcoiner, but it feels like every Bitcoiner's got access to a 3D printer. You see it all the time. It's like, I printed this really cool thing and I put a fan on there and a couple of shrouds and I hooked it up to a radiator and I threw some water in it. And look at it. I took a Bitaxe Super and now I'm getting 1.5 terahash out of it at the same efficiency. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It's so cool, the innovation that's coming out of the space. And something that we talked about a little bit is like, not everybody can afford $5,000 for a industrial sized miner. Like I have a couple in the studio that, I've gotten for cheap because they were just lying around in somebody's storage unit or somebody's warehouse and they didn't need it. So I got it for cheap. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm going to pay for it on the back end with the power cost. I'm paying probably like, I want to say $286 a month if I ran this thing full bore, 24/7. And is it going to mine that much Bitcoin? I don't fucking know. I have no idea. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But the Bitaxe, it's like you said, Matt, it's like leaving a 50-watt light bulb on 24/7. It's going to cost you a couple
Yeah.
dollars.
I mean, the bigger the miner, the bigger the loss, right? It's not very profitable, or it's not profitable at all, rather, to run a Bitcoin miner at your home, um, unless you have access to energy that's 5 or 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You're never going to be profitable running a Bitcoin miner at home. But the idea behind Bitaxe is to distribute hash power and decentralize the network. And in the process, you may actually hit a block.
Yeah.
And I think moving forward in the future, I really believe that you're going to see solo miners hitting blocks more often, because it's just kind of a game of probabilities and statistics. As more miners go out, more people are going to hit blocks. And then what that does is it fuels another wave of people going, what the hell? What is this thing? I want to buy one. And then more devices come online, more blocks get found, and the cycle just keeps going and going and going. And before you know it, everyone will have a Bitcoin home miner, some sort of Bitaxe, some sort of open source home miner that mines Bitcoin for dollars, pennies on the dollar per month, you know. And
Hmm.
I think eventually it outweighs the big boys, because we're going to add to the network difficulty. We're going to strip power away from them. We're going to make their mining more unprofitable. And you know, if these guys are dependent on the price of Bitcoin going up forever, you know, I don't know that it really has to do that. It could cruise at 100K for the next 5 years. I don't know. You know, no one really knows. We're all just kind of guessing here. But the more devices that come online, the more people that are going to hit blocks for sure, and the more people that's going to usher into the movement.
Exactly. You know, like this is the greatest thing. Well, there's a lot of great things, and I say this is the greatest thing all the time. Talk about different things, but one of the coolest things about Bitcoin is the open source, decentralized nature of the entire system. You know, I talked about it a little bit in the beginning. I talk about it on this podcast all the time. I love the heat reuse aspect of Bitcoin mining. I love the fact that it's a resistive heater. It creates heat. You can mine Bitcoin while you're creating that heat. So for me, it's like, oh, well, why not build a Bitcoin miner that's heating my home? Why not build a Bitcoin miner that heats my studio? Why not do all these really cool things that I was already doing? I was already providing heat to the space. Now I'm just like mining Bitcoin for that same heat, which there's something to be said about not falling in line with regulatory systems. This whole idea of KYC Bitcoin versus non KYC Bitcoin, and like generating your own. There's a huge thing to be said there. But then you tie that in, you tie the heat punks space in with the whole Bitaxe space and this open source decentralized lottery miners. Nobody's nobody's getting rich off of a Bitaxe. I mean, one person got rich off of Bitaxe, but nobody else is getting rich off of Bitaxe. We're all just crazy Bitcoiners who think it's cool and like to teach people things. So yeah, I really do hope that, we start seeing more people winning blocks. We see more of this decentralization happening. Obviously, you guys see it. You know that people are buying these. You know that people want them. And as this industry kind of grows and evolves and more things are built bigger and better, there's no telling like where this can go. I'm not sure about what's up with my Avalon over here, but I mean it puts off a small amount of heat. So I would like to see open source Bitaxe miners that are doing the same thing. I would love to be able to buy a Bitaxe configuration that puts off heat.
Yeah, we know the heat reuse case is a huge potential with mining. We see it, we hear about it. We have a lot of input from customers that want devices that put off heat, and you know it just kind of makes us further iterate that what you're seeing right now isn't going to be what you're seeing in the next 6 months. What comes with the heat, you know, exhausting all that heat is more chips, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as we get into units with more chips, you're going to see more heat dissipating, more heat being exhausted, and that could further be used for things that you like to do or other heat punks like to do, right? It just takes time to get there. It's a lot of scaling, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of capital too.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of capital roaming around in the open source market. I feel like that's kind of one of the biggest strangholds, right? We donate to Open Source Miners United, which are kind of the group of guys that keep all this stuff going, and you know, they use that money to further innovate on Bitaxe and to keep the project going, to keep innovating, keep pumping out new units, and to keep people working. Because something else that comes with finding blocks and attracting people to the space and whatnot is when a device actually finds a block, it's gonna get developers excited to join the project too. People are going to start realizing that this is a real thing, like that what they're doing holds tremendous amount of value, and that this space has a huge potential. And after the Bitaxe hit a first block, right before the Nashville conference, it was absolutely crazy. And the wave of new developers that came in that are now willing to work on the project, because it just kind of validated the whole idea, you know. We were always true believers before that happened, but as time goes on, you're going to see more developers going to get into it. You're going to see more capital roll into it. You're going to see capitalists get into this and really push it. And I think money is the thing that pushes ideas, right? You can have an idea, but if you don't have the time or the money to do it, it could really just stay an idea. I think the funding that's going to come into this space is going to further push the innovation, and you're going to start to see products that people want, over time. It just takes time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've only been an active Bitcoiner for like 2 years, and the amount of innovation that I've seen in the last 2 years is absolutely astounding. I mean, to watch this go from a nascent industry to, people they're talking about it on mainstream media. They're talking about Bitcoin miners, reducing emissions and clearing waste and doing all these really cool things. And it's in 2 years that I've been in Bitcoin. I cannot wait to see what happens to the Bitaxe project, what happens in the heat reuse space, what happens with large scale industrial miners, just as we iterate and build more. And we have, like you said, more funding to do these projects, because not everybody has millions of dollars just sitting on the side. Actually, 95% of the people in the world are struggling to make ends meet, and they dream of living a better life. That's part of why I came to Bitcoin, is like, I dream of living a better life, but I don't have the money right now to live that better life. So how do I get that money? How do I get that funding? And it transfers into Bitcoin mining as well. These open source projects, and I put the OSMU wiki at the bottom of the screen. So anybody who wants to go and donate to this cause, like, go to that link. I'll make sure that it's in the show notes as well. Go to that link and help this cause forward. Also, you can buy a Bitaxe. You can buy Bitaxe from Solo Satoshi, which, while I'm on this point, I'm going to share this as well. So we have a coupon code for Solo Satoshi right now, 5% off if you type in "build a mine" on their website. Go get yourself a Bitaxe. Buy 3 of them. Buy 10 of them. Go and buy these Bitaxes. Distribute them out to your family. Get everybody onto this Bitaxe project, because this is how we push the needle. This is how we spread global adoption, by getting people interested. And you can't get people interested by saying, "Hey, you got to spend $12,000 on your infrastructure and on the back end to run one of these things." Like, that's not how you do it. How you do it is
Yeah.
you buy them this device, you put it on their desk, you set it up for them, and you say, "Hey, by the way, now you're a Bitcoin miner."
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back one step, OSMU, you don't have to donate money. If you have time, if you're a developer, software engineer, they are more than willing to take in help to help further the entire project.
Yeah. That's what's really cool about open source, is that everyone kind of has a hand in the pot, and no developer is perfect. No one who writes code is perfect, and that code is constantly revised and upgraded and taken to the next level each time. You see firmware updates for these devices coming out nearly every 2 weeks now, and there's constantly little bugs being patched and things of that nature. And yeah, if you're an open source, or if you're just any kind of software engineer, if you're good with code, ESP miner firmware, um, take a jab at it, man. And I'm telling you, when you put your work into Bitcoin, it pays back tenfold. It really does. It's self-fulfilling, and you're helping the network stay decentralized. You're helping Bitcoin stay free to money, because we're at a detrimental stage right now where Bitcoin mining is highly centralized. And yes, that hash power can move freely, but we believe that the hash power is really controlled by a couple of centralized entities, where it really can't migrate. And if these guys decided to turn malicious for whatever reason, they could severely damage the network. There are some things that could happen. We could hard fork it. We can go, whatnot. We could leave those guys on their own. But I think that just kind of, again, sets Bitcoin back probably a decade if it was to get attacked, or if someone was to start realizing some of these risks and these guys turn malicious.
Yeah, no, it's something that is being touted by the Bitcoin maxis is like, look, we need to decentralize every single aspect of Bitcoin, whether it's the hardware, the software, whether it's the actual code itself, or not the code itself, but whether it's the devices mining Bitcoin, whether it's, you know, the block template construction, whether it's the mining like rigs that are being built. Like, we need to decentralize every part of it so that when any one place is kind of attacked, which inevitably there are going to be attacks coming. Like we saw the block size wars. That was an attack on Bitcoin. But guess who won? We did. The the
Yep.
the plebs won that because why? Because we were all running our own nodes. You know, because we had decentralized enough at that time to fight off these attackers. And there will be bigger and larger attacks, larger scaled attacks happening more and more as Bitcoin grows and you have more capital going into the system. So really the only solution here is to bring mass adoption, teach people about Bitcoin mining, get a Bitcoin miner in the hands of anybody who's willing and able, and then also teach them, like through that, teach them about running their own node. Teach them how to set one up. Teach them how to self custody their Bitcoin. It's an ongoing process. It's not something that you learn in a day. Obviously, you have to take the time and you have to educate yourself. But what better way, in my opinion, what better way to onboard somebody into Bitcoin than by placing a small Bitcoin miner on their desk?
Yeah, I think there's a trifecta we always talk about, and it's running your own node, holding your own keys, and owning your own hash power. And I think once you kind of get to that level of mastering all three, I think it's your if you're into Bitcoin, it's your duty to run a Bitcoin miner, because if you believe that this network is of that of freedom money, then if you believe Bitcoin is freedom, then it's almost like, it's defending the network. It's like grabbing a gun and defending your country. Where each one of these miners that go out into the wild and get plugged in and start hashing from anywhere in the world is directly contributing to the decentralization of the network and stripping power away from the centralized entities. And that is exactly how we look at it, and that's exactly how we'll forever look at it, and that's why we're here.
Dude, that gave me chills, man. I'm not even
Me
kidding.
too.
I got
Me too.
goosebumps from that, man. Like, whoo! Brush that off. Oh man, no, it's incredible. I am
Yeah.
grateful. I'm grateful to you guys. I'm grateful to people like you. I'm grateful to Scott. I'm grateful to all the people developing and building and growing this space, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, without you, the large industrial scale miners, the Bitmains of the world, the Maras, the Clean Sparks of the world would overtake us, and we wouldn't have a fighting chance in hell. But because of you guys, because you're distributing these devices out to the world, we can actually fight back. And it's small. It might be like the David versus Goliath analogy, but who won in the end? You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna win, and I'm so excited for this mission.
Yeah, there's power in numbers, man. And Scott has a good saying that I love. It's like one Bitaxe is insignificant, right, amongst the corporate giants, but millions of these devices distributed, across the whole globe is really highly significant. And I mean, I don't think everyone always talks about the network effect that Bitcoin has. Bitaxe has a huge network effect as well, and it's going to grow exponentially, and more solo blocks will be found. I mean, there's just so much stuff. We live in this space 24/7. We are indulged in it, and we cannot keep up with the amount of stuff that's going on. There's always something new being released, being made, being developed. There's so much more to come, and 2025 is just going to be super exciting.
Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait, dude. I'm so happy to see it. I'm so stoked just to see how much you guys have grown. Like, to the audience, like, I did not know that Solo Satoshi was 7 months old. Like, when we first started talking, I thought you guys were a 2-year-old, 3-year-old company. And to see how much you guys have done in this short amount of time, I was blown away. So mad props to you guys. Appreciate what you guys are doing. I wanna end this off with a couple of things. So the first thing, I ask everybody the same question at the end of the show, and I'd like to give you each some time to answer this question in your own way. Do it as little as long as you want to go with this. But Matt, Hunter, what does Bitcoin mean to you?
For me, it's hope, and it's a chance. You know, it's a second chance at liberty and freedom from the fiat system. And there's so many people, the majority of people don't even know that they just keep on going. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. I'm not going to worry about it, but it can. And much of those people have been screwed over by that same system. And when you find Bitcoin and truly start reading and understanding all of that it just changes your life, and to take everything back into your own hands instead of the fiat systems. And so that's one of the main things for me.
Bitcoin is freedom, man, and that's really the only way, I think, after just the deep dive and the hundreds or thousands of hours of research, and you come to the final conclusion that Bitcoin is freedom, man. It's something that no one can ever take from you. It's freedom for your family. It's freedom from oppression. It's freedom from government overreach. It's something that no one can ever take from you in this life, and everything else can literally be taken from you in physical form, whether it's a car, a home, um, anything. It could be taken from you at a moment's notice. And Bitcoin is just a huge middle finger to all of that. And I mean, if you believe in freedom, man, then you believe in Bitcoin. It's just really up to each person to take the deep dive and put the work in and come to that same conclusion.
Completely agree with both of those points, man. Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is the last stand on a desert island when the entire world is fighting you and trying to destroy your livelihood and your energy that you put into this world. Bitcoin is a way to store that and project it into the future and tell all the state powers that be to go and themselves. You know what I mean? Like Bitcoin is it's freedom. It's freedom to do whatever the hell you please, and you are also subject to the consequences of whatever the hell you please. But that is how God intended. Freedom to do as you will and reap the consequences or rewards.
Absolutely. Love it.
Oh man, I love this, guys. This was a great conversation. I've been looking forward to this all week, man. The last thing I want to do is just leave the audience with a little piece of advice.
Get active in the Bitcoin space. Um, don't just buy Bitcoin and sit on it. That's a huge way to get into it, but take the deep dive and start a Bitcoin business. What keeps Bitcoin relevant is the people using it, keeping it decentralized, keeping it distributed amongst the plebs. Um, get involved in the community, get involved in open source projects. There is not enough light shed on the open source community. And I feel like that's where a lot of our success is coming from, is that we are so loud on this one subject. And we're like, look at what's going on. How is no one else realizing this? And I think people are now starting to realize it. But get involved in the community. If you have anything to contribute, if you have an hour of your time to contribute, it's never wasted. But just don't take away from Bitcoin. Give all you can to it, because in the long run, if you do believe that it's freedom, then you should be more than willing to make sacrifices for that freedom.
Well
Very
said.
well said.
That is well said, Matt. Well said. I honestly don't think I could have said that better myself. I honestly, Hunter, if you what is your piece
I'm
of
not even
advice?
going to try to top that one. That was right on the head. That was perfect.
Yeah. Just get active, man.
That's
You
what
know
it's all about.
what started as like a dream for us is turned into this crazy ride. And yeah. we started with nothing, man, and we neither one of us come from money. Um, Me and Hunter has both been like very less fortunate, so Bitcoin's given us a huge potential here, and Scott and the team at OSMU's given us huge potential as well. And honestly, we're very very privileged to be here. I mean, and that's really all I could say is how privileged we are to be here and be one of the leaders in this space and be out on the forefront and spreading the word of this movement. And we're not leaving, man. We're here for a long fucking time. Anyone that don't like us, they better deal with it, dude, because we're here for a long time. We're gonna be a
Dude,
thorn in your side for a long time, bro.
if you don't like it, go out, do it better, and prove to you
Yeah.
guys, prove to everyone why you're better. Okay, like that is my challenge. If you don't like what these guys are doing right here today, then go out and do it better, because Bitcoin gives you that opportunity. And if you can do it better, by all means, by all means.
It's open.
That's
It's open
what we
source,
all want to
man.
see, is just
Yeah.
keep spreading it.
It's open source, man, and open source is the most. If you're in the open source market, it's one of the most competitive markets. It literally is proof of work. You have to be the most competitive. It's all about who doesn't sleep. It's all about who is willing to work the hardest. And
Mhm.
if you are amongst the few people who don't really worry about sleep, and you can tune the rest of the world out and create things and innovate and push ideas onto people and make it make sense, it will reward you. And if you do it better than us and we have to shut it down, then we'll figure something else out, man.
I
We're
will
coming
shake your
right
hand.
back.
I'll shake your hand and
Yeah.
ask for a job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Look, there's no third place trophies in Bitcoin, man, especially in the open source
Yeah.
community. So, this was a good episode, guys. I want to say I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Again, everybody, there is a code. Just check the show note descriptions. If you guys want to go get a Bitaxe, you get 5% off at Solo Satoshi. The last thing I want to say is, again, the Heat Punks totally forgot the name of it. The Undermine Heat Punk Summit happening in 2025 is going to happen February 21st through the 22nd in Denver. I will leave the links in the description for you guys to go and get your tickets to that. Come out, come say hi, learn about what's happening in the Heat Punk space, buy yourself a Bitaxe, get involved in the Bitcoin community. Don't just hold Bitcoin. So with that, like and subscribe, all the good stuff. You know what to do. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Please note, the Build a Mind podcast provides information for general educational purposes only. This information should not be construed as legal, financial, or investment advice. We do not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of any information presented, and we encourage you to consult with a professional advisor, legal advisor, and/or financial advisor before making any financial decisions. The Build a Mind podcast and its affiliates are not responsible for any losses incurred as a result of using the information provided.